Well, that's way too high. Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you've clicked on this video, I'm going to assume that you are in the process of or starting to think about trying to get yourself a literary agent. If you don't know why you'd get yourself a literary agent or even what a literary agent is, stick around. I'm going to go through the whole process in really simple terms. Before anything else, if you're going to be starting to write out to agents, you need to make sure that you have a full manuscript finished. And that's finished. Edited, sent out to your beta readers, re-edited. Maybe you need to chop and change the paragraphs around like I did. You really want to be sure that you are, if not entirely happy with the book, because I'm not sure any author is ever going to be 100% satisfied with what they've done. You at least need to think it's in a good enough place to commit to sending out to agents. That's not to say it needs to be perfect. They probably will help you edit once you've been picked up, but it really does need to look like a finished, revised product. Once that's done, you may be interested in trying to get your book published, but traditionally, big and even medium publishers don't accept submissions direct from authors. Some of them do on occasion. They'll open up their books for you to email them directly, but even still, it will always look better if it's coming from a literary agent who works in the industry and who knows the contacts and how to represent your book the best. There are obviously smaller publishers and you can go through self-publishing as well, in which case you may not actually need an agent at all. But if you're looking to go through the traditional route of the big and medium publishers, it's probably a good idea to get yourself an agent. A really crucial part to remember is that you're not just going to be sending your work out to every agent you can find. It's really important to find an agent that is actually suitable for the book that you have written. There's plenty of ways of finding those sorts of agents. Where I started was that I looked at the books on my bookshelf, all the books that I had as inspiration for the book that I wrote that were in a similar theme, same genre, that sort of thing. And if you flip back to the acknowledgements page, usually at the end of the book, they'll typically shout out their agent, which is a great start. You can go then Google their names, look them up on LinkedIn or company website, whatever it might be, and read a little bit into their background. Now, those agents actually might not be open for submissions. Agents tend to switch between being open for submissions and closed for a period of time while they work through the backlog of submissions they've received. But if you do find one who's worked on a book or with an author that you really like, that you think you share similarities with, it is worth checking out whether their agent is open for submissions. Failing that, there are plenty of websites that are actually built specifically to help people find agents that are right for them. A really popular one is Manuscript Wishlist. Manuscript Wishlist has pages and pages of agents that you can search on using their smart search feature or just search by name. The smart search feature lets you put in a description of your book. It will analyze some of the keywords that you've entered and it will show you a selection of agents who are suitable for the project that you've written. Another option is Query Tracker and Reedsy. Both of them are fantastic resources to find literary agents. You might find that you just have a preference for one over the other, but it is worth looking at all of them. If you found an agent that you really like the sound of, who are open for submissions, it's really worth checking out their profiles online. Go to their website or their company's website, go to their LinkedIn, read about them, about the sort of literature they like to read, the sorts of clients that they've worked with before, and make sure that they are actually right for you. There's no point sending your gritty, violent crime novel to an agent who is really just looking to represent, say, cozy fantasy. You want someone who's actually representing in the area that you've written. Chances are you're gonna write out to quite a lot of them. It is a bit of a numbers game, so you might benefit from keeping a spreadsheet of the different agents that you have found suitable for your book, just marking down if you have emailed them, what date you emailed them on, just so you can keep track. Once you've found an agent, you actually need to submit. Now, this is done in a variety of different ways. A lot of agents will ask for, say, 1 page or 1 chapter, 50 pages, the first 3 chapters. I've had all of that, 15,000 words, 50,000 words. Some of them want a 1-page synopsis, including spoilers. Some of them want a 1-line elevator pitch or just a blurb. Make sure that you read what they actually want and how they want it, because a lot of companies won't accept emails with attachments. They want everything in the body of the email. Some won't accept your attachments in certain formats, say PDF. A lot of them appear not to accept postal submissions, so make sure that you know exactly what they want. Every email, however, is going to contain a query letter. So a query letter is an introduction to yourself. You're reaching out to let the agent know about your project, why you've chosen them, and this should include a couple of key staples. So starting from the real basics, the subject line for your email, it might depend on the actual company's requirements, but typically they'll start with query, colon, the title of your book, your name, and then you might put something in brackets after that to say what genre it is, and how many words you've written. So for my example, it would say query, A City to Drown In, which is the name of the book that I've written.
That's Jason Bourne.
Brackets, historic crime fiction, 88K, so 88,000 words. In the body itself, you want to open stating what the purpose of the email is. So you could say, I'm looking for representation for my novel, which is a cozy fantasy novel, complete at 100,000 words, whatever it might be. You'll then want to offer like a brief blurb of what the book is about, something really snappy to get people interested. Obviously, you have the attachments that they can read into later, so for now, just keep it short and snappy and try to really pique their curiosity. Another really important part is comps. So comps is basically shorthand for comparisons. It's really a good idea to make sure that you have some comparisons for works that are already out there that you think are very similar to your book, that hit on the same themes, and it's probably best to choose more recent comps, things that have come out within the past couple of years. It's okay to say that your book is similar to something quite historic, but it's worth remembering that the agent is really focused on what the market looks like right now, and is your project going to be marketable? So if you're writing a sci-fi novel and you're comparing it to old 80s sci-fi, that might not catch the same appeal as if you were to compare it to a modern day sci-fi. Lastly, something you might want to add in is a very, very brief bio about you. If you have publishing experience or writing experience of any form, it is a good idea to say that there, just to show that you have some credentials in the space. And then you'll finish off to say, I've attached what you've asked me to attach, and I would be delighted for the opportunity to share the full manuscript with you, should you so wish. From there, you can double check what it is they're asking for and make sure that you've attached the necessary parts, and that's it. It's extremely scary to do, but eventually you do have to hit submit, and then you might get an automated response. Typically you don't. Typically it will just say on their website, submissions usually take 6 to 8 weeks. That's quite standard for them to read and respond to. Some of them say they don't respond at all if it's not an acceptance. So if you go past that 8-week mark, just assume that it hasn't been picked up. If you've got a response asking for a full manuscript, well done to you. You're doing better than I am. I've sent out to probably about 20 agents so far, and I have received just shy of 20 responses, all of them saying, no thank you, they're gonna pass. And look, rejection is probably gonna happen. Unless you are straight out the gate, absolutely incredible at your craft, chances are you are gonna get quite a few rejections before somebody decides to ask for the full manuscript. And it's easy to say, don't take it personally, but of course every rejection does feel like a bit of a kick in the guts. I've certainly felt that way. It's made me doubt if I'm doing the right things and if I really should be pursuing this at all. But here's the thing, rejection in this scenario, it's not failure. It's really just a part of the process. Sometimes it might mean that your query letter itself isn't working, but sometimes also the market's just tough. And sometimes it's a Monday afternoon and the agent is not having a good day. There are so many myriad reasons as to why you might get a rejection, so it's really important not to take it personally and to just keep persevering, because I think the only people who succeed in this are the ones who just keep going even when they're really feeling like they don't have what it takes. Just be stubborn enough to keep going. Do you take time over your query letters? I think often I will take a couple of hours per one because it is important to tailor it to the specific agent. It's a bit like a job application. You have to do your research, you have to prepare it carefully, but do take care of yourself. Sometimes you need to take breaks. I've needed to take plenty of breaks. I've had weeks where I've been sending out loads and loads of emails, or not loads and loads. As I say, I think I've only sent out about 20 in total, but they take a few hours each one, so it can use up a whole evening just to send one, maybe 2 emails. And that does get tiring, especially after a long week of work. And for me, I started to really despise the process. It was taking up the space that I would otherwise be doing something creative and productive, and I really feel like I need that creative outlet. So occasionally I will take a bit of a break from sending out query letters, and I'll just work on my new project for a few weeks maybe. Also, that's probably beneficial because actually the whole emailing process, it's quite emotionally intense. You're trying to summarize a project that maybe took 2 years of your life into an elevator pitch, and then you're getting rejections all over the place. It can be tough to keep going through that. Chances are the imposter syndrome is going to be running high. Any ego you had about finishing your project is definitely going to take a hit. But you got to rally. You got to take on board that something maybe isn't working and maybe go back to the drawing board a bit. Unfortunately, agents are typically too busy to give you bespoke responses to explain why they rejected a project. But if you keep getting rejections, it might be that something does need to change. That could be in the query letter itself, or it could be in the actual manuscript. For my manuscript, I think I probably made changes after every single rejection, some of them quite substantial as well. I changed about the opening chapters to start with a cold open to try to ratchet up that immediate hook. And I do think that the book is in a better place for it. So, that's a benefit. I think that's an important thing to do. I think it was in Save the Cat, which is a book all about writing and how to make it in the literary world. Although the book is specifically written for screenwriting, but it does apply here. That people like to bring up the anecdote, oh, well, the Beatles got rejected from the first however many record labels before they got picked up. But what they often don't include is that after each rejection, they could have been changing the song to make it better. And that's why it did eventually get picked up. It wasn't necessarily just they had to find the right person. A rejection can be an indication that something does need to change. So where am I now? Well, I'm still querying. I'm still writing on the side, still scrolling the various websites looking for new agents. I've started now to look for more local agents. I work in London, so local agents means really most of the agents in the UK anyway. But I'm coming to learn that some of the ones that you see on the first few pages of the Google results or in manuscript wishlist, they've worked with the biggest names in literature. And of course your work's gonna have to be pretty amazing for them to pick it up, which it might be, and that's, go for it. Certainly don't rule yourself out. You should try those people anyway. But you might be interested in also looking for smaller firms or assistant literary agents, people who are quite new into the work and are looking to build up their own portfolio. You might get a little bit more success with them. And because they are new at the job, it might be that they really bring a lot of passion into getting your project published. At the end of the day, not everyone's first book gets published. In fact, I imagine quite a few people actually are able to publish their very first project. It might take you writing a few books before you really find your footing and your voice and it hits the right market at the right time. So it might just be that you choose an alternative path for the first project. On a website like Medium or vocal.media, these are websites that allow you to publish for free. They have membership options, which if you sign up to, you can actually start earning a bit of money from the amount of views that you get. It's usually not a lot, but it is something, and it might help you build up a fan base. I haven't decided to do that yet. I'm going to keep trying the traditional route because that is ultimately what I want, but it could be something that you consider. I'll talk more about those sorts of websites in the future because I do think they're really helpful, and you can earn a little bit of money for your writing. I know vocal.media runs regular competitions, usually a number of competitions at the same time, with prize money of $500, I think it is, for first place, and then a series of smaller prizes for the runner-up. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up the video there. If you're querying too, solidarity. This is not an easy journey, but you're definitely not alone. If you've got any questions or want to share any of your experiences or even just vent a little bit, just leave a comment down below. As I said in the previous video, I'd really like for this to be conversational, for it to be a community of people who are in a similar space, not necessarily just in writing, but in any creative industry, to help each other along the way and be a motivating force, because it is a tough environment and it would make it so much easier if we all had each other's backs. Thanks for watching. If you could like and subscribe, I'd be over the moon. And remember, you will make it eventually, and you're going to grow so much through the process. It might take a little time, but it is 100% worth it. Okay? Bye.